Hi, I'm Linda Elson, and I'm a certified Feng Shui practitioner and president and owner of Feng Shui Your World, and I would like to welcome you to Feng Shui Essentials. And essentially, this is the basics of Feng Shui. And over the course of the next weeks, you're going to become very well acquainted with your home. And we're going to roll up our sleeves and learn some basic tips and steps you can take to balance and harmonize the energies of your home. And before I begin any class, I always like to begin with a little meditation. I think, still emerging or being part of what we're coming out of, I think we can all appreciate just taking a few deep breaths, a pause, finding our center and, connecting in. So I'd like to invite you to get very comfortable in your seat. When I meditate, I like to sit upright. I'm here today in my little emperor chair. And I'm going to start by ringing my tingsha bells. And so the ringing of the tingshas are going to lead us into the meditation. And then I will ring them once more at the end of the meditation. So I like to sit upright. I like to have my feet firmly planted on the ground. Part of the upright is allowing the energy to move up and down the spine. And also personally, when I meditate, I like to close my eyes, but if you're more comfortable keeping them open, by all means, please do so. There's many ways to the mountain. So here we go. All right, I would like to invite you to choose to raise your vibration. So start to feel yourself sitting a little bit taller in your chair. Again, you're feeling your feet firmly planted beneath you. And I'd like you to imagine or see or feel a beautiful white light beaming down on the top of your head. You can think about it as being a beautiful white heavenly spotlight or the sunshine of a day. And this beautiful white light is now coming down into the top of your head. This beautiful white light is now going down your face and over your ears and over the back of your neck and your head. And it's just clearing out any thoughts of the day, just cleansing and letting go. It's now going down over your throat, again, over the back of your neck, and gracing now down over your shoulders and going down your chest and your upper back. And now it's swirling around, down around your heart center. Again, just opening up and clearing out anything. It's now going down around your stomach and going down your mid-back. Again, just clearing and cleansing out any little rumbles or butterflies, just letting it go. And that beautiful white light now is gracing down over your hips, where we find our joy. Now, like a waterfall, it's going down over your thighs and now falling down over your knees and going down over your shins and your calves. And now imagine or see or feel that beautiful white light is now just swirling around your feet. And then imagine now it's as if it's forming like a little whirlpool and it's going down through the floor beneath you. And imagine this beautiful white cleansing light is now going down and coiling around like roots of a tree. And I'd like you to take a deep breath in and exhale to those deep, beautiful anchoring roots. I want you to be aware now of that energy of those roots beneath your feet to, again, like that pulling of a cord in the top of your head. And that light comes from the top of the head going down into the earth and your feet. Again, just anchoring that beam of light into your being. Now I'd like you to imagine a beautiful, loving pink rose quartz crystal bubble is going around yourself. And in the year of the rat, love and compassion is so very, very important this year. It starts with compassion for ourselves. I'd like you to put your hands over your heart, and I'd like you to all take a deep breath in, a deep cleansing breath for love and compassion for ourselves. Deep breath in. And on the exhale, breathing out that compassionate, loving energy to each other. And if you like, you can now put your hands resting down on your lap. And I'd like you to call in the 4 major directions we will be talking about today: to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west. And we call on these 4 cardinal directions to guide us on our path and our journey and our exploration of Feng Shui together, and that we'll be guided in a way to uplift us and inspire us and empower us as we take steps to create balance and harmony in our homes together. And I'd like to invite you to take another deep breath in and exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right, well, thank you for joining me in that little meditation together. And we'll begin the slides. And again, this evening, we are talking about the essentials of Feng Shui. And this is all about taking steps to transforming the energy in your home. And, you know, as we went into this big pause and stay at home and big, huge transition into the world of change and now entering into a new era, blissfully and happily, I got a lot of calls and texts and emails from some of my clients who were just so relieved that their Feng Shui felt so good, or they had just done an annual update with me. And others were quickly, you know, contacting saying, oh, what else do I need to do? Or even for me personally as a Feng Shui practitioner, oh my gosh, what else do I need to do? But also, you know, of course, I have an observance and an awareness and a knowing that some of us were not feeling as great as we possibly could in our homes. And I feel that we could all take steps and all need a few more empowerment tools, even if we've never even really heard of Feng Shui before, that there are easy steps that you can take to help to start create more balance, more harmony in your home. And thus here we are today to talk about Feng Shui essentials. And whether you're a newbie who are, you know, is just getting started and, you know, rolling up your sleeves to learn more. And I'd love to start off in getting the chat rolling. So maybe you could begin starting the chat with putting in your first name. And if you're new, just say new. Or maybe you've read a book or you've taken a class before or saw something on HGTV. I just love to get a sense and a feel of where we are all at. So Feng Shui is the ancient art and science of placement, and literally translated, it means wind and water. So it's said that energy travels everywhere like the wind and then settles like the water. And it's really a beautiful metaphor. And Feng Shui is all about being in harmony and rhythm with nature. So it's about creating this balance and to harmonize your home with the natural elements. And in class 2, we're really going to dive in and talk about the natural elements, but it has similar principles to acupuncture, Tai Chi, and Qigong. And let's go on to the next slide, and we are going to talk about the origins of Feng Shui. What most people don't realize is that you know, there's some false information out there. And there was an emperor way back when that actually took steps to say to his masters, tell the people to put a fountain over here when really it should go there. And I think sometimes people get a little confused when they're reading about different things about Feng Shui out on the internet or in, you know, bookstores or articles. And we're going to get a little bit into the different styles of Feng Shui, but back to some of the emperors actually taking steps saying, well, this is just way too powerful, again, to have in the hands of the masses, that, you know, they actually wrote false information. So it's interesting. Again, you know, it's a subject I will be studying for the rest of my life. It gets very, very involved. And again, my great love, my great passion. You know, when you know enough about Feng Shui, you can kind of discern, what is true or not true. And interestingly enough, Feng Shui, has been banned in practice since 1949. Again, they think it's a little bit too powerful to have in the hands of the masses, which I think is very, very interesting. But if you have had the good fortune to explore different parts of the world, there certainly are some great influences. All right, so some major centers for Feng Shui. Certainly, again, it originated in ancient China. Again, much around the Pacific Rim, in Hong Kong, in Malaysia, Taiwan, Singapore, and definitely gaining popularity in the US. Again, I've been a professional practitioner for the past 18 years. It probably came to the US about 30 years ago at this point. And it started off in progressive California, as you may guess, and really worked its way across the major cities, and really kind of took root here in Buffalo about 18 years ago or so. And it's interesting, my background and how I got interested in Feng Shui. I had moved back to the area in the late 90s, and I had taken a job in international marketing. And a friend of mine in New York actually gave me a book on Feng Shui, and I really knew absolutely nothing about Feng Shui. And I thought she gave me a book on, it was like a Chinese cookbook, for my international marketing job. And it was a very, very basic book about Feng Shui. And it was about, how to angle your desk just so, and have a commanding view of your space, and add a water fountain for flow, and have some reference materials in your knowledge and education sector. And we're going to be talking all about these sectors in a little bit, and have an inspiring picture in front of you. And I had a very, very modest little office. It was all of an 8x10 box. And I probably did business at the time with about 75 different people. And this is like pre-internet. So I didn't send out an email, a missive, a memo saying, come look at the new kids' Feng Shui space. I would have thought I was crazy, but it was very interesting to me. So everyone from accounts payable to the CEO would wander into my office and say, wow, it looks really nice in here. But then they would take a step further and they would say, it feels really good in here. And, I certainly did not work for a touchy-feely organization at all. And I really thought it was interesting how they wanted to all pull up a seat and not leave my office. And I was kind of like, people, have work to do. But it was really fascinating to me. Like over the course of the next 9 months, I had gotten something like 2 job promotions and 3 pay increases, which of course corporately makes absolutely no sense. But I thought, oh my gosh, there really must be something to this Feng Shui. And I remember my colleague had left the organization, and I got promoted into the front office that overlooked the M&T concert series when the M&T concert series actually still existed. And again, I thought, wow, this Feng Shui is amazing. But really, I just started reading every book that I could get my hands on, and any friend or family member that would let me come over and move some furniture or, suggest painting a wall, we would do it. So it's powerful. So I'm excited to share some golden nuggets with you today. So some major businesses using Feng Shui. I will do a disclaimer. These are not my personal clients, but I do think it's kind of interesting because they are some very, very well-known global businesses that actually use Feng Shui in their physical space across the globe. Barnes & Noble, The Body Shop, Chase Manhattan Bank, Coca-Cola, HSBC. I have had direct contact with HSBC. When HSBC had a very big presence in Buffalo, I worked with a lot of their president and their vice president when they were doing business in the tower and in their personal homes. And it was really, really fascinating for me to work with them because most of them had come up through the ranks in the Hong Kong office. And they said, oh my gosh, they said when we worked in Hong Kong, it was very, very strict about really what you could or couldn't do in your office. So they said, you might have like a beautiful picture of Lake Erie because you grew up in Buffalo, New York, and you want to hang it in your new office or even have some version of that in your cubicle. And it was like this, like, look, you had to, number one, submit that request to your manager. Your manager then had to get a hold of the Feng Shui master, who then had to say, Gina does need that water element in her space so she can hang it. But Angie, absolutely not. No, we do not want a water picture there. So Angie, I'm sorry, you can't have your water picture hanging in your office right now. And again, just a way of life. And Feng Shui is all about being in rhythm and harmony with nature. So even something like hanging a picture of water versus, you know, a fountain that I was experimenting with years ago can actually make an energetic impact. And again, we'll be really getting into elements and all that kind of fun stuff in our class number 2. But again, I always found that really, really fascinating to hear their stories about actually working in that part of the world. Citibank is another notable corporation, Intel, Nike. Entrepreneurs, Bill Gates, of course, has been very much forefront in the news lately, and we pretty much all know who he is. And also Richard Branson is a well-known entrepreneur that utilizes Feng Shui in their companies. So just to give you a little bit further background and education, there are different styles of Feng Shui. So for some of you who've read a book or two, you know, and I've heard this over time from people, sometimes people will say, you know, this book says this and this book says that, you know, which is correct? And sometimes it's either a correct or an incorrect. Or what a lot of people don't realize is that there's actually different schools or different styles of Feng Shui. There's probably about 12 altogether. And I just want to kind of touch on the most popular. And the one that we're really going to be diving into and working with today is called the 8 mansions. And 8 mansions formula is directionally based. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the north, the south, the east, the west, and the 4 subdirections, the northeast, the southeast, the southwest, the northwest. So you do have to have a sense of what direction your home faces, and don't worry about it right now. We're really going to get into that. And the other big thing that 8 mansions gets into is that the whole idea of that your whole life is mapped out throughout your physical space. And we're really going to be talking about our career and our health and our wealth and our children and our helpful people. But you kind of, that's kind of like the flavor or the idea of 8 mansions. And then you apply elements of nature and that in these different sectors. Maybe where do you need a potted plant, or maybe adding some additional lighting like a lamp, or popping a little bit of the color red. Again, those are all things kind of like the component parts that we're going to be putting together with 8 mansions formula. Now, Flying Star. Flying Star is actually a style of Feng Shui that I use in private consultations with clients. So residential and commercial. And you know, right now, I'm still doing Feng Shui consultations virtually and remotely. Feng Shui is about to emerge again safely in phase 2, along with real estate. And for some of you who know a little bit about me, I'm also a licensed realtor, and I help people buy and sell homes with Feng Shui. So both businesses are having their emergence come, fingers crossed, here in New York State next Tuesday. But Flying Star is very, very interesting. It looks at how the energy of your home changes in time and space. So when I'm working with a home or I'm working with a business, I gather lots of background information, like when your house was built, the date, if known, of all your major renovations or changes, like bumping out a wall and adding a family room in, the date you moved in, the birth date information of all of the members of the household. And I sit down and I take an exact compass reading. Is it face north or southwest or northeast? And then I work with a little bit of formula, and then very specific to that space, we're figuring out what elements the people need, you know, here and there, and what's the most ideal placement of the furniture, directionally based. It gets rather involved, but that level of Feng Shui is kind of like coming in and doing like acupuncture on a home. So for those of you who have ever had acupuncture done, it gets very, very specific. But again, that's kind of at practitioner level. Black hat Feng Shui, Western Feng Shui. Again, I'll tell you a little bit about my background and story, and I'd love if anyone wants to chime in and chat if this one sounds familiar in any books that they may have read before, for those who are a little bit versed or, again, done a few Feng Shui experiments. Black hat, honestly, is probably the most well-known version of it here in the States. And the reason it's quite popular, and I will be honest with you, when I started off and I was a hobbyist, this was definitely the style of Feng Shui that I practice. And it's a very static formula. It's all about you know, viewing your house, how you enter it through 3 different quadrants, if you will. So then you would figure out whether your door was over to the right, your main door to the right or to the left or to the center, and then you'd kind of figure out this mapping system accordingly. I will tell you, as a hobbyist, I got some really great fun results with it. But when I went to study it more formally, you know, it made sense to me how that the directions were very, very powerful. I mean, we all can't deny that we know what that feeling is, you know, how that rising sun in the east feels, and that light, that quotient that comes into our homes. And of course, we all have different layouts and styles of homes, and, you know, sun comes in different ways. But I think you get the idea of thinking about the power of the sun and the rising sun, setting sun. Intuitive feng shui, it's kind of like what the word means. It's kind of like vibing out and feeling like, what do I need here in my home? Do I, you know, am I feeling like I need to hang a crystal here? And I'm not poo-pooing it, because I will tell you, I always find it very, very fascinating when I am consulting with my clients. I find it fascinating to see maybe where they've already intuitively kind of got it right. Like maybe they kind of felt that they needed that pop of red, and they have these red throw pillows, you know, in their living room, or, you know, burgundy colored draperies, or you get the idea. So, but yeah, that's more about like intuition and feeling, which I know a lot of you have done some intuitive development work. So that is fascinating. Again, fascinating for me, because I do feel that we are all very, very intuitive creatures. I will just say that the style of feng shui that I actually practice and teach is, you know, there is analysis to it. So we're going to teach you about how to navigate and to be a feng shui detective, so to speak, in your own home. Pyramid feng shui gets a little bit more into like sociology, some psychology in the background of analyzing feng shui, which is interesting, and form and shape. Landform feng shui. So way back when the emperors were setting up those imperial palaces and kingdoms, they really worked with a lot of landform feng shui. Like if you've ever seen a picture of Hong Kong, it's looming mountains behind Hong Kong. So we'd say they have the mountain of support behind them. So, you know, the mountains are taller than, you know, than the palace itself. Or, you know, like I'll observe landform feng shui when I'm first going out to a person's house. Like if they have a tree lined lot, and if I see that the trees are higher behind the house, if they have trees, I mean, we all don't have trees, then I would say, oh, that's their mountain of support. So we look at heights of things, but, you know, when you're looking at feng shui of a city, we'll look at how roadways come in. So, you know, one of the things, and again, there've been many masters for me, and there'll be many more. But, you know, some of the feng shui consultation for me actually begins as I'm actually driving to a person's house, because I'm observing as we get closer and closer to the house, what are the built-in landforms around the feng shui. So form and shape is definitely a part of it. So I blend that into what I do in private practice as well. The Bagua map. So the Bagua map looks at how your whole life is mapped out throughout your physical space. And we look at how the home divides up to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west, and then to the 4 subdirections, which are northeast and southeast and southwest and northwest. So the first thing you need to know, and I'll kind of go through the map, but I want to like kind of plant this little seed with you, is the first thing you need to know when you are going to apply feng shui is what direction your home faces. All right, so we're going to go through the map first, and I'll guide you through how to take a compass reading, and I have a really good blog on my website. But let's just start talking about these different sectors. And I think our Western minds very much start thinking about it all starts with north. So we will start with the north sector. And I will tell you, the north is a very, very big and important sector in the year of the rat. And in our final class, it's going to be the lead sector that we talk about and fortifying you for the given year. But the north part of our home relates to what we'd say is our career, or our life's path and our journey. So we think about, for those of us who are still in the working world, and some of us are frontline workers and we've been still going out into the world, and a lot of us have been starting to work from home and doing, you know, Google Hangout meetings, or, you know, Zoom corporate meetings like I did this afternoon with my Hunt real estate office. And some of us are retired, or some of us have decided to go into retirement, or some of us have little children. And of course, they're on their life's path and their journey, and we are all on our life's path and our journey. So the North is about honoring this area of our life. So again, the thought and the theory is that our whole life is mapped out throughout our physical space. And Karen, I want to just flip to the next slide just to give them a little bit of a peek. So what we do in Feng Shui is, as we start to talk about north, south, east, and west, you know, for those of us who have the luxury of maybe having a copy of their floor plan, or when I'm going out to do a really in-depth consultation for a corporation or someone is doing a new build, easily they have copies of their floor plans. So, you know, you actually almost, you could say it's like an overlay or a tracing of these different 8 sectors over, you know, the lay of the land of your house. And, you know, some of you might not have the luxury of a floor plan. It's okay. We're looking at general directions. So, you know, when I'm talking about the North, like in this particular slide, if you can kind of like squint in there, you know, in this particular example of this person's home, the North happened to be a bathroom, but you know, for Gina, it might be a dining room. And for Karen, it might be her master bedroom. And for Suzanne, it might be a back patio. And for me, it might be my front hallway. So it's going to be a little bit different for each of us. So just a little peek into that. But let's go back to that previous slide, Karen, and back on the Bhagwan map. So when we think about the North area of our home, and if we were going to enhance it for themes, and this is really what I want you to just focus on tonight, are the themes of the sectors. So again, career, our business, our job, our livelihood, maybe what we currently do, or maybe what do we want to do next? You know, I like, for an example, I have a longtime client that's worked in retail for the past 20 years. And, you know, just as this was all beginning, she had a separate little health thing that came up and needed her attention. And during the time of the pause, you know, her employer, you know, truly, again, works in retail. So as you know, a lot of retailers, aside from the major ones that also sell food, have been closed. And she's used this time to really contemplate what is her next step on the life's path. And she's realizing she probably doesn't want to be in retail anymore. So this is the area that we can start saying, wow, my career sector really needs some enhancing or some boosting, or what do I want to dream up and be and do in this next step on my life's path or journey? Or for the retired folks, I've heard from some of them as well saying, gosh, I realize I was super overbooked before this pause, and I'm kind of liking a little bit of this downtime, or I love learning, but I like going on to Zoom versus, you know, racing off here or there to continuing education classes or what have you. So we all have a different path and a different journey. But if we're going to enhance the North, it could be with company literature, with our business cards, or a company logo, or, you know, you're saying, gosh, you know, when I finally get back to that new version in the new world of work, I really would like to stick with my company. So again, maybe that's adding in some of that company brochure and literature. And next week, when we get into elements, you might say, like, I really don't want any additional stuff like that in my home. So we'll talk about color and elements and what to do there. But you kind of get the idea of the sense and the theme of the sector. So now moving on to the Northeast. The Northeast area of our home, the Northeast relates to knowledge and education and research and travel. It's also the development of inner wisdom. So it's like taking classes like Feng Shui, or for those of you who maybe have been introduced to Santosha before, intuitive development classes, or, you know, a yoga practice to me is physical, but it's also, you know, honing and developing that inner wisdom. And this is, you know, the sector which honors the kids that maybe you're not returning to school this year, depending on what part of the country they're living in, or the university students that many of whom have just graduated online or are just, you know, finishing off the tail end of turning in papers, and the school teachers that have been, you know, set up Google Classrooms and have been teaching remotely, or the parents that became not only the stay-at-home worker, but also the student aide, if you will. So you kind of get the idea of the Northeast. So this is the area that we enhance with things and topics that we love. You know, it is our favorite books. It's our, you know, it's hanging up that diploma that, you know, even though maybe your son or daughter just received it virtually, but that actual physical piece of paper, honoring it in a frame and going up in the wall. And by the way, when we look at the Feng Shui Bagua map, we are really looking at it as it spreads out north, south, east, west, and these subdirections over our whole home. But I will also share with you, this can be shrunken down over a given room. So, you know, again, maybe you do have that recent college graduate, or maybe you are that recent college graduate. We could actually hang that Northeast diploma in that place of honor, I would say, like in the Northeast corner or sector or quadrant of the given room as well. And, you know, for those of you who are saying, okay, we've been a little bit more homebound, but I have a friend who is planning on retiring in a couple of years from the University of Buffalo. And she had said, just so you know, I'm still planning on taking my trip around the world. So, you know, she's loading up the Northeast sector with her different, you know, pamphlets and brochures. And, you know, you talk about inner wisdom. One of the things that she wants to do in her trip around the world, she actually wants to stay at monasteries. So she has been researching monasteries. So it's going to be interesting to see how the world shifts and changes regarding accommodating those different things, but you get the idea. So, you know, books, diplomas, maps, a world globe. And, you know, for people who are still really interested in world travel, you know, you could actually have a little globe in that area. And I encourage people to spin the globe on a regular basis. Again, it's getting that chi and that travel movement going. And, you know, this could also be a great spot maybe to display pictures of some of the favorite places you've traveled in the world. Maybe it's to Sedona, Arizona, or to Cape Cod, or, you know, maybe you like staycations in your own beautiful Buffalo, New York, if you are from Buffalo on the call today. You get the idea. So
Linda, we have a question about upstairs and downstairs.
Okay, great question. Okay, so what we do if we live in a two-story home, and a lot of us do, you are actually going to accommodate the bagua and kind of shrink it or expand it accordingly. So for those of us who live in a very traditional colonial home where, you know, the ground floor and the upstairs floor match perfectly, then your bagua, you know, if the kitchen is down here and the master bedroom's up there, and that's both in the north, then we know we got that pretty much figured out. But, you know, maybe some of us may live in a split level home, and we know that the upstairs, you know, is shrunken down a little bit. We then adjust the bagua accordingly. Does that answer that person's question? And I will also say, while you're thinking about that, and you can put that in chat back to Karen, I want to say you can also apply the bagua map to your basement. In particular, I really don't get involved in basements, with the exception of if someone has a finished basement, or they have a media room down there, or they have an in-law apartment with a proper egress, so that is livable space, then I look at that. So, but otherwise, you know, if you just have a finished basement, then, you know, you may still want to know, you know, where your washing machine is in the bagua, and you're doing a whole lot of laundry these days with the 5 kids, you get the idea, but you shrink it accordingly. Let us move on to the east. So the east is very easy for most of us to identify. It's where the rising sun comes into the home. And this is the area, another very, very big topic of discussion, certainly in the year of the rat. And again, we will be zeroing in on this, so to speak, in our final class. But the east is the area where we honor our health, our family, our longevity. So living a good, happy, healthy, long life. And, you know, this is wellness. This is truly mind, body, spirit. And this can be a great spot for a home gym, or where you roll out your yoga mat, for those of us who have been doing a lot of, you know, at home working out these days. Or this can be a great area to display family pictures or photos, again, of the nuclear family or the extended family. Or this can be another great spot in our home for those of you who like to honor the line and the lineage. A beautiful, wedding picture, that from your grandparents' wedding, back in the 1930s or 40s. You get the idea. This can be a great spot if maybe in your home it's the kitchen. This can be a great spot to display cookbooks, anything in relation to wellness. And what I want to say, and this is just kind of planting the seeds of what your homework will be, and it's fun homework, I promise. It's kind of like you'll be going home and doing a noticing exercise, like, what do I have going on in the North? Is there anything that may relate to my career or my path? Or my next steps, or that knowledge and learning in the Northeast, or the health and the family. The other thing that I want to encourage you to do is you're doing this noticing exercise, and some of you may want to take little notes around the Bagua, or even maybe start a little Feng Shui notebook, so to speak, is I want you to also be aware of if there's anything broken, if there is anything that needs fixing, if there's potentially maybe some clutter stacking up. I mean, this is not a class on clutter, but I want you to kind of, as you're going around to these different sectors, and again, I'll make sure you're well acquainted and taking those steps before we end our time together today. But it's kind of like looking at the Bagua map through a lens saying, what's the story? What's the story that's going on in my career or my knowledge and travel or my health and family sectors? And then again, as we continue to work our way around the Bagua, do you like what you see? You're like, oh my gosh, my health and family looks amazing. And knock on wood, we are all doing really well. And wow, we're working out. Thank goodness, we haven't been touched by, the big global topic, and everyone's been, again, really taking steps and eating right. You get the idea. Or if you're saying like, wow, could we really use some help? We'll be talking about how to go in and do the acupuncture. So the southeast part of the home. So this is, again, a little bit, as we continue on with the movement of the sunshine, a little bit to the right of the rising sun. The southeast relates to, we'd say, our wealth, our prosperity. This is our abundance on all levels. To me, this is also the area where we are in the attitude of gratitude. But definitely, this is bottom line here. And we can do things like display images of wealth and prosperity. It could be a good old-fashioned piggy bank. It could be a spot where maybe you keep your, your Vanguard portfolio. But I would say, images of wealth, this might be a bedroom for one, a dining room for another, a child's room. You get the idea. So one thing I will say about wealth and prosperity, as far as that kind of imagery goes, sometimes people will think about, I have a little wealth Buddha here. I'll show you my, my little wealth Buddha. My little wealth Buddha in my prosperity corner. I wouldn't do anything, excuse me, I wouldn't do anything wealth-wise in a bedroom. It's kind of like you want to turn that off. You want to turn that off. Excuse me, I have a tickle. But when you apply the Feng Shui Bagua map again, I think that the one area you can do it in is like a kid's room. I think you can do the displaying of the piggy bank. Healthy, thriving, growing plants can be used as well. So again, bottom line, honoring it, growing it, and also making sure definitely in this area that there aren't things that are in disrepair. Also, I will just give you a little sidebar, and this is not a class on gardening with Feng Shui, but the Bagua map can also extend into our gardens as well. So we can identify, where is the southeast part of our garden? And of course, a lot of us are getting into that at this time of year. So the south part of our home, the south relates to what we'd say is your fame or your reputation, or what you're known for, or what you're really, really passionate about in life. And this is an area You know, a lot of times when I would do consultations over the years, people would say, oh, you know, I don't want to be famous. But again, it's what you're known for. Maybe you're known as just, you know, being a wonderful, helpful person, or you're known as, you know, just being a wonderful neighbor, a wonderful coworker, or being really passionate about collecting trains or stamps. You get the idea. Or being an amazing author or proofreader. You get it. We all have our different passions and our different things that we tap into in life. But this is the area of achievement. So this can be an area of our home, maybe where we display awards, or if it's a corporation, I might have them display any kind of media that they've gotten. If they've been featured in Business First or, you know, the New York Times, you know, maybe those are framed very prominently on a south wall. And I remember a while back, I worked with a local Western New York financial firm. And they were very, very altruistic. They were very, very well known in the community. And they had actually gotten a lot of media and press attention. And they had said, though, you know what, though, we're very, very proud of that, but we don't necessarily want it on display. So what we did in our brainstorm about how to express it for them, they expressed it through artwork, and really, really bold and powerful, you know, to them was an expression of, you know, what they're known for and what kind of like how they stand for. And the fun part about Feng Shui is that we are each going to express that a little bit differently. And we all have different styles of homes. And, you know, the fun, we'd say it's the art and science of placement. So to me, the art is the fun spin on how you're going to express that. But, you know, like this could be a spot for, you know, displaying, you know, the swimming trophies, or, you know, the medals from the Taekwondo meet. You get the idea. And in the Southwest, so the Southwest, again, going beyond the 12 noon sun, heading towards the setting sun in our homes. This is the area that relates to, we'd say, our love, our partnership, marriage in very, very traditional circles, of course. But we think about things being placed in pairs. So, you know, some of us are in relationships, some of us are not. Some of us are saying, oh my gosh, I just don't need that complication in my life. But here's the deal. The universe always wants you to be open and receptive. So in this part of our home, we do place things in pairs. Or if we think about partnership, it could be, you know, if we've been married for, you know, 30 years or had that, you know, relationship, or our son or daughter just got engaged, maybe that would be a spot where you would put a picture of you and your sweetheart. Or maybe you're saying, I'd love to meet someone. So again, maybe this is your living room. So maybe, you know, when you, again, get off the Zoom call, and again, a lot of us are still spending a lot of time at home, and you start doing the noticing exercise, you know, do you have lots of single objects in this particular part of your home? Or do you just have the sole little throw pillow on that living room couch? Maybe it would be an easy thing to, again, I really encourage people to kind of go shopping in their own home. Maybe you're saying, oh my gosh, I have an overabundance of pillows on my bed, or my daughter has a way overabundance of pillows. And you can just say, hey, can I borrow one of those? And we could use that to balance out, you know, that particular sector of your home. Or maybe it's your dining room and you just have the sole little pillar candle in the southwest sector of your dining room. And you realize, hey, when I open up that little buffet cabinet, I realize I do have an extra little pewter candlestick holder that I can, you know, put there. Again, you get the idea. Or again, you know, the idea of the dining room in the southwest, maybe a candlelight dinner. Again, things in pairs, and maybe actually spending time, again, if you happen to live with your partner, or maybe you're looking to deepen that a little bit more. And of course, that's been a big topic of discussion, yay or nay, with, again, so many of us spending an inordinate amount of time together across the board. Or, you know, for some of us who are living alone as well, or maybe wanting to attract that in, you get the idea with things in pairs. So moving on to the West sector. The West relates to our children and our creativity. This is the kids in our life, or honoring the little inner child that lives inside all of us, or the grandkids, or, you know, for raising, you know, little ones at home, or even our, you know, kids that are away, you know, that were away at college that came home. You get the idea. They are, or the little neighbor that, you know, pulls the red wagon, you know, on a good day when they're getting the breath of fresh air outside. and our own personal creativity, our creative expressions. So there's so many different ways that many of us express creativity. Some of us are painters. Some of us are really creative in how we balance our checkbook, or some of us are lovers of art or love to play musical instruments. You get the idea. So this can be a great sector to display pictures or images of the kids in your life, or, you know, have beautiful pictures of art, whether it's poster art to, you know, a Monet. You get the idea. But this can also be a sector where we spend our creative time. I have a client, a long-term client, that's actually a musician, and she plays, oh my gosh, you name the instrument, she plays it. And the west part of her home happens to be what was the traditional dining room, which she kind of quartered off. She has a rather large L-shaped living room. And so she uses this part of what was once the traditional dining room, and it goes off to a patio, and that houses her baby grand piano. She also plays the harp, she plays the cello, and her family, they are actually, you know, the lineage are wonderful musicians. So, you know, again, under good normal circumstances, they also join her and they come, and that's where they all, you know, musically play their musical instruments. And so they enjoy a very, very creative activity. This is also an area of our home where we say we tap into our joy. So as you know, as you're assessing your home and you're thinking about these different qualities in life sectors, or, you know, hey, this is really feeling pretty good in this part of my life, or, ooh, you know, when I get off the call and over the course of the next week and I start taking a lens, you know, if you are not, and, you know, listen, there's been a lot going on in the world, and I know this for sure, but the West is about joy. It's about communication. It's about having fun. So, you know, even in a great stay at home, you can find ways to have fun or tap into joy. But really, if you're saying, gosh, I can't even relate to what that even means, then it's time we take a look at that west part of our homes and saying, what's the story? What can I do? What do I need to move? What do I need to shift? Okay. So we will move on and we will talk about the Northwest. So the Northwest relates what we'd say is our helpful people and our mentors and our spirituality. And this is also the male head of the household. If we have a male head residing in our home, this is the patriarch of the family, the granddad. You get the idea. So this can be a great spot to have any pictures of friends or mentors, or, you know, if we're really working on our spiritual development, this could be having a picture or an image of a beautiful angel or a goddess or a Mother Mary, you know, whatever your belief system is. Or, you know, for those of us who are not into those overt, you know, expressions of symbology, again, we can just take a step back and we can say, what's the story? What's going on here? You know, is everything in good working order? And the final sector that I want to talk about before we dive in a little bit more in talking about identifying directions is the chi center. So that's that center part of the Bagua that you see, and chi, C-H-I, is the word for energy. And this is typically the center part of our home. It's usually the energetic center, but it's really the physical center for most people. For a lot of people, it's an open hallway. For others, it might be a bathroom. I'm curious, we can maybe put it in chat, and I'll also check in to see if we have any questions that I can answer. I'd love to know if anyone has a particular room in this part of their home, like an actual room. You know, is it a bedroom? Is it a bathroom? Do most people have open hallways? Well, someone has a dining room. Cool. All right, bathroom. I've seen bathrooms, yes. I think my laundry room is, okay. All right, Karen, let's go on to that next slide. We're going to take a peek of the directional territories. So the first thing, as you're thinking about application in terms of your own home, is to know and is to identify the facing direction of your house. So the facing direction of your home is typically the side of the house where the front entrance is. And I know someone had emailed me or contacted me before the class, and they had said, you know, I really don't use my front entrance too much, and but I go through my garage. Well, the garage and the front entrance for this particular person was on the same side of the house. So typically your facing direction is the front side of the house, and it's the front side of the house that's facing the street. So we'd say that is the most yang side of the house. We'd say it's where the active energy is. We talk about yin and we talk about yang. Yin is more quiet, yang is more active. And then Karen is actually, if she hasn't already, she's putting up a link in chat to a really good blog article that I have online. And I assume that most of you, if you found your way onto Zoom, you probably can surf over to my website page, which is fengshuiyourworld.biz. fengshuiyourworld.com will also get you there. And in the blog section, again, Karen's giving you a direct link, but there's a very good article to guide you through this. What you do is you go out in front of your house. So it's like you're going to walk out your front door, and you're going to either download a compass app. There's lots of free compass app, or maybe you have a little scouting compass that you got at Target or Gander Mountain, and you are going to walk out and you want to get a reading of what direction your house faces. Is it to the north? Is it south? Is it southwest? And then from there, personalized to your house, you're going to figure out how the different sectors of the Bagua play out. Where's your north? Again, is it a dining room? Is it a bathroom? Is it a bedroom? Where is your southeast? Is it, you know, your son's bedroom? Is it your den? Is it your, you know, the right side of your kitchen? You get the idea. And any questions about identifying your sectors or how to take a compass reading? Will your front door beat your back? Great question. Yes, it will. So, you know, if I'm getting out my compass right now, and if I have a compass app on my phone, which I do, and I will tell you, even as a practitioner, I use a couple of different methods, because don't be surprised if you're walking out and you're like, okay, I got this reading, and now I walked a little bit further and now it's telling me something else. So when I personally take a reading, next week I'll show you what my traditional Lopan looks like. A Lopan is actually, it's a practitioner tool, but I'll take a compass reading with the Lopan. I will use a traditional little scouting compass, and I also keep a couple of compass apps downloaded on my phone. And the reason I tell you that I, even personally as a practitioner, check in with a few different sources is sometimes even outside, and by the way, it is my professional opinion, you should all take your readings outside your home, because we don't even realize it, but we are bombarded by so many, well, nowadays, a lot of electromagnetics, or when I'm in, you know, corporate office buildings, a lot of, you know, overhead ductwork, whether it's exposed in a cool way, say in downtown Buffalo, or even hidden behind the scenes. And metal objects can sometimes throw off the needle of a compass. So I will always tell you this too. Make sure you are not close to like a car parked in your driveway when you're taking the compass reading. Like for an example, when I pull up, and again, in the traditional old world with my car, I always make sure I park my car on the street. So it's, again, it's far away from that. But yes, again, Anna, the front door will be behind you because you're walking out to the front where the street is, and you want to know what direction does that face. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so we'll look to the final slide of the evening. Very good. You're welcome. All right, so homework, fun homework. I promise you're going to download a copy of that map. And again, if for any reason you need us to send it to you, we are happy to do that. And again, if you want to acquaint yourself with a little bit more Feng Shui knowledge, you certainly can between now and next week. Again, just some great ways to stay connected and learn a little bit more about Feng Shui and get some tips. Again, for those of you who are on Facebook, we have weekly Feng Shui Friday tips. Again, I started doing a variety of weekly videos, again, to kind of coach people in short little ways about navigating the new world that we are finding ourselves in, so that they're fun and insightful and very short. I'm new to Instagram, so if you're on Instagram, please follow me and I will follow you, and we will be evolving that more. And then our website is really a wealth of information. We have the blogs like the compass reading, lots of tips, fun videos, and more. So I thank you so much for being here today. I'd like to thank Santosha, Angie, and Karen for hosting me. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Have fun with your feng shui. And namaste.